My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love and Sassy Seer Sheila, as this will be seen on both channels. This is Controlled Opposition, the final front line of the illusion by Jason Gray. The most dangerous enemy we never see. When the veil begins to lift, when you start questioning the system, seeing through the narratives, and remembering who you truly are, something sinister emerges to meet you. Not the obvious enemy, the disguised ally. This is controlled opposition. Carefully placed voices, influencers, authors, truth tellers, and spiritual leaders who appear to stand against the system, but were placed there by the system itself to intercept your awakening before it becomes dangerous. And I want to pause here and say something about this because I myself have experienced just this. And I think there are layers and levels of how deep that goes. There are beings who are controlled opposition without even knowing that they are controlled opposition. And, well, what do you mean by that, Sheila? And I will say this. There are beings who are fed information to share with the masses, and they don't realize that that information is controlled opposition. So they share it in a very well-meaning manner. Do they know that it's controlled opposition? Maybe some do, maybe some don't. But the truth of the matter is, for me, what I've noticed, as remember, I am a puzzle piece collector. And what I've noticed is that anytime something becomes monetized, it now must be protected at all costs, because that is the way that being is making their living, is paying their bills. And so it really matters not one way or the other sometimes, if they are aware or not, in my view. So I'm not saying to you, because I'll be honest with you, I came across this very early on in my waking up with a character by the name of David Wilcock. And I happened to belong to a group of folks who openly discussed this very topic. And a lot of people were saying, well, I wouldn't believe a word he says. He's controlled opposition, and had all these kinds of reasons why they didn't believe anything he had to say. And the truth of the matter is, for me personally, there was a lot of information mixed in with whatever that is or was that I resonated with, that felt truthful to me, and there was some that's not. And in truth, for me, this is how discernment is actually learned, right? There's a lot of really good information in what David Wilcock imparted to my mind and to my awakening. And there was an awful lot of information that I found suspect. Each one of us, it is up to each of us to feel into any information one is presented with, including this from Jason, including anything else, anything I say. Because in truth, no one has all the answers, first of all. And if they tell you they do, or if they're trying to charge you, sell you something, whatever that is, that to me then becomes suspect. So back to Jason's writing here. Controlled opposition is the last firewall. It is the final illusion inside the illusion. It is far more common than you think. What is controlled opposition? Controlled opposition is manufactured dissent. It is the illusion of rebellion sanctioned by the empire. And sometimes Lisa and I are revisiting Star Wars in timeline order. And I have to tell you, there's actually a part in there where they actually help foment and manufacture said dissent. So that's a very real thing in my view, because in my view, Star Wars is more a remembering than entertainment. The game is simple. Create a voice that questions some things. Allow it to sound radical, spiritual, or edgy. Gain the trust of those who are awakening. Then redirect, neutralize, distract, or mislead them. It is not just political. It is not just religious. It is spiritual. It is esoteric. It is happening everywhere the illusion is being threatened. Why it exists. The system knows that awakening is inevitable. It cannot stop it. Instead of trying to stop it, it contains it. They cannot stop you from questioning the mainstream. So they give you alternative media full of scripted revelations. They cannot stop you from seeking truth. So they give you influencers who expose partial truths while reinforcing deeper lies. They cannot stop you from rejecting religion. So they give you, quote, conscious spirituality that glorifies ego, external deities, and endless healing loops. The formula. Lead them just far enough to feel awake. Then keep them stuck in a safer cage. How to spot it. Here is how you know you are dealing with controlled opposition. They expose the lie, but never the source. They will talk about corruption, but not consciousness. About politics, but never planetary imprisonment. They will point at symptoms, but never at the root. They never burn bridges with the system. Still on mainstream platforms. Still monetized. Still connected to legacy media. Still, quote, respectable. They speak in loops. You know, that's so funny because back during the pandemic, I had that same thing. I was like, wait a minute. How did I get shut off when I wasn't even monetized and I had less than 2,000 subscribers, and yet they shut my channel right down? I had that very question. That's very interesting, Jason. They speak in loops. They are always rehashing the exact same themes: trauma, healing, mindset, resistance, but never breaking the narrative of the matrix itself. They sound profound, but produce no real change. Motivating? Yes. Viral? Yes. Soul igniting? No. They mix truth with poison. They say 80% of what you need to hear, then insert 20% that reroutes your path. That is the trap. They give you a new religion in disguise. Whether it's, quote, Christ consciousness, quote, galactic councils, or, quote, AI is here to save us, it is just the same old trick in new robes. External saviors, depersonalized power, and spiritual outsourcing. Where it hides. Controlled opposition wears many masks. Mainstream, quote, alternative figures. Famous truthers who suddenly get massive exposure but never go too far. Yeah, I had that same feeling. Spiritual influencers always talking about love and light, but never piercing the simulation. Podcasters and YouTubers, big followings, but stuck in safe narratives, never naming names that matter. Authors and channelers delivering, quote, downloads that feel good but do not change you. Even friends and family unconsciously repeating controlled talking points to keep you small. Controlled spirituality, the most dangerous form. Nowhere is controlled opposition more dangerous than in the spiritual community. When the seeker begins to awaken, they are vulnerable. They want answers. They want purpose. They want connection. That is when the system swoops in with, quote, raising your vibration, manifesting your timeline, 5D ascension, Christed light body activation, galactic starseed lineages, twin flame mission work. Sound familiar? It is pacification disguised as progress. None of it calls you inward to sovereign remembrance. None of it helps you deconstruct the lie. Now, the truth of this is, for me, I've seen a long time ago that, and he's right, if it's not pointing you back into you, because you are the only expert on you. You are the only one that can fix you if you indeed feel you're broken. And for me personally, I know I was running from myself, and I was running so hard, I was running myself right off the planet. And you see, once you start waking up, if you don't go in, he's right, you're very vulnerable. And that means doing some really hard work on self. And it ain't easy. And it ain't for the faint of heart. But see, nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to be saved. Give me the easy road. Well, sorry, I hate to tell you, there is no easy road. That's not how this actually works. Not in my, not for me, not so far. That's all I can tell you. None of it helps you deconstruct the lie. None of it forces you to become God within. It tells you what you want to hear, not what you need to do. That is not awakening. That is spiritual sedation. Why it works. Controlled opposition feels good. It scratches the itch of rebellion. It makes you feel seen. It gives you a community. It delivers, quote, truth with smooth visuals and perfect lighting. It never costs anything. It is spiritual entertainment. It is rebellion without risk. I wouldn't say it never costs anything because there's plenty of folks charging for all kinds of stuff. So it costs plenty, if you ask me. But it doesn't cost you anything in terms of the work on you that has to be done, perhaps. It is rebellion without risk, revelation without responsibility. It works because it gives you just enough truth to silence the call to go deeper. Then it hooks you. The truth they never tell you. Real awakening is not a brand. It is not a business. It is not a product. It is a breakdown of everything false. It is inconvenient. It ruins your relationships. It shatters your world view. It forces you to unbecome everything they taught you to be. That is so true, Jason. Controlled opposition never leads you there. Why not? Because that is when you become uncontrollable. How to break free? Ask yourself the following questions. Who benefits from me staying here? Does this path require my obedience? Am I being taught to think or to follow? Is this voice giving me my power or attempting to manage it for me? Does this truth burn or does it soothe? The real path will always break you. Too damn true. It will always demand your transformation. It will never preserve your comfort. It does not cost you something, and I am not talking about emptying your wallet. If it does not shake your identity, if it does not require brutal self-honesty, it is still 100% part of the system. Controlled opposition is not just out there. It is also deeply ingrained within you. Every place you are afraid to question, every belief you refuse to re-examine, every narrative that you cling to for safety, the system does not need to silence you. It only needs to make you think that you are awake. Your job? Keep digging. Keep dismantling. Keep destroying illusion, even when it hides behind, quote, light. The deeper you go, the fewer voices remain. You go until there is only one voice left, yours. Welcome to the void. Wow. He's actually saying the same thing that I think I've known for a long time. And I have said this, but again, who am I? Right? I would love to hear what you think about this. I know that there are lots of folks out there who, like I said, it means that we have to see ourselves very clearly. And that's not an easy task to do. Nobody wants to think about just how goofy well, golly, how goofy have I been? How wrong was I? Right? I mean, but unless you're willing to entertain the fact that very, very possibly the answer to that is terribly goofy and terribly wrong. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you about it. I hope that you're enjoying these works. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for folks to want to come and have conversations with us, until we meet again, like I said, reach out consciousconversationscentral@gmail.com. I hope you will subscribe both to New Light Streaming Love and to Sassy Seer Sheila. Either one of those channels, one is my collaborative effort with others that just haven't been active of late, and one is my own. The Sassy Seer Sheila is my own. I do appear live in both places. And at some point, the others will be, I believe they're coming back to join me. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that for sure. But both of them have been recovering from some health issues. And so I hope that you will move towards that which brings you joy, that which draws you in. It is a matter of perspective and your perception of that perspective. And personally, I hope you allow that to change as you do question yourself and dig deeper and go inward. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.